canvas for innovation, creativity, and bold thinking. The Festival of Architecture and Interior Designing, or FOAID, currently in its 12th year, returned to Delhi, guided by the theme, Your Ideas, Your Story, Your Festival. FOAID 2025 celebrated imagination, individuality, and the many voices shaping the future of architecture and design.
Design for me is definitely a lot of emotion. What a lot of us as designers don't realize is what we are that whatever we are creating is sort of not just bricks and mortar. We are creating spaces, and spaces, we are creating details, and details tell stories. And when you tell stories, stories sort of have the power of generating a lot of emotions. And which is why for me, design to spaces, to details, to stories, to emotions, I think there's a really, really cool connect.
It gives you a platform where you actually can tend to interact. Because normally everyone's so busy in their schedules, like, different parts of India. And so India is growing so fast. And at least FOAID helps all of us to be here on these particular 2 days, and where we can sit and interact.
At the heart of FOAID lies Design Manthan, the conference platform that brings together global thought leaders and practitioners, reimagining the built environment. With over 150 speakers across 20 sessions over 2 days, the conference sparked conversations that challenged conventions and expanded the boundaries of creative practice. Setting the tone for the conference, the opening keynote by Sir David Adjaye explored new topologies for cultural infrastructure in cities.
I think what FOAID is doing is really creating a fantastic loop that is really critical to how innovation and learning and archiving of knowledge happens. So these kinds of conferences and festivals incorporate mentoring and supporting emerging generations, allows education to happen, allows industry to cross-pollinate, and also for architects to see each other and network. It's a very important forum for innovation.
The first panel discussion of the day, Beyond the Brief, How Creative Minds Design High-End Projects, examined how designers balance ambition, context, and craft while anchoring large-scale premium projects.
The key takeaway for me was, which was common to all the panelists, that how you have to understand the client psychology and how much role does client psychology play in understanding the brief. That was one of the main key takeaways for me, that because the demographic of the client changes a lot. You're having clients from the luxury segment, tier 2, tier 3, and complex client requirements. How you are able to understand their psychology to simplify the brief for yourself.
My point of view is one of the topics is going to be the detail, the quality of the detail, and sometimes to create something unique. And sometimes that we have to create something that is going to achieve all the needs and the dreams of the client.
This was followed by a presentation series that explored detail versus vision, how architects can balance creativity and execution, showcasing projects where ideas were carried through with precision, discipline, and intent.
The best music you've ever heard, the best art that you've seen, leaves a lasting impression on a mind. And nowhere it is more profound than in the urban spaces, the public spaces, because there the architecture addresses the maximum. There's so many aspects to it which makes those spatial moments or spatial experiences unforgettable.
This is the plan of the museum. The section of this project is quite interesting because you arrive at a jetty level, you're then forced down, that's what the green arrow tells you. You're forced down to a subterranean level where you're submerged under water tanks. And through those water tanks, you're able to see the story of underwater archaeology. You're able to understand the old stories about sunken Dwarka cities, etc. And then you sort of move off and go and visit each of the galleries.
So New Delhi railway station is the journey I'd like to share today. So this is perhaps one of the most complex projects to first understand, then design, and perhaps the hardest to execute. The execution is started, digging started on ground. That's the station. It really had to be a place where you know you're coming in to exit the city. You bring in the reality of technology and new materials. You make a strong plinth and you put whatever little commerce that needs to happen on top, and the station has to come up.
The conversation then shifted inward with a panel on the unspoken realities of building a practice and an identity. Panelists reflected on leadership, longevity, and the evolving challenges of running a successful design firm in a competitive landscape.
Is there a reason with which you establish a firm? There's a vision that you start with and then you're sort of linking everything up with that vision every time? Or does it just sort of meander along depending on the projects you get? Or you say, I'm not going to do certain projects because they don't fit in with my vision, or is just the bottom line of, that we are all making profit at the end of the year becomes a driving force? I mean, how do we actually, sort of traverse this journey?
Success has different parameters for different people. Somebody who is running a design firm as a consultant would have different parameters to success. Somebody who's running a production house, an execution company, and a design house has a different parameters of success.
Vision is very important for us as a practice, but more important than that is to be able to communicate it. The moment a potential client steps into the door, that's the first opportunity to align them. What is it that we are good at? We are not good at everything. First of all, that realization is very important. Holding that is very important. And fortunately, our experience has been more alignment we bring with the client, better they understand the specific value we will be able to bring on board. Those small nuances are what is making projects profitable.
You asked why do most people start their own practices, is because yes, all of us also have our own design language that we want to show out. But one of the reasons we start is because there's not enough money in architecture when you're working on interior design. That we all think that we want to make more money if we go and start working on our own. And money is an extremely important thing. As an architect, we should not be shy of speaking about it. We need to know how to retain our people. One of the basic reasons why people leave us, because we are not being able as an industry to pay people as much as what the same person at that age would be making in banking or in finance or in insurance or something like that. So one of the key aspects that we are very proud of is that we amount to able to pay people maybe as much or a little more than what they would be expecting. And I also think architecture can be a really, really profitable business if you know how to run it, and you run it with a passion for the design, but also as a perspective that this is actually going to be a for-profit business.
Next, the spotlight turned to branding the skyline, the new language of luxury living, with panelists exploring how architecture, hospitality and real estate intersect to shape aspirational urban experiences.
What's interesting about brands is that, I think everybody is pretty aware of all the brands now in the world, but they really are a collective belief system that people of the same mindset share the same set of values, and they really can share the same interests. So by being part of a brand, it really already puts you in a life segment, or it already puts you in a lifestyle. So by using a company like Jacob & Co. to drive the way that you're going to be living on a daily basis is really interesting, because it's not saying that I'm Grand Hyatt or I'm W Hotels or I'm whatever. I am something that the consumer already believes in and buys, and people of similar mindset are able to be in that same space together.
Clubhouses and amenities are becoming top notch, and also it will have a lot of launch value actually, and novelty is there, launch value is there. And internationally, a lot of these brands have been able to create that hype, which will come to India also.
For us as architects, we do lose reality with design. So one of the key lessons which we wanted to share on the podium is not just about numbers, and it's really about design in the end. So with our branded residences talk, the idea was to show that design does have an impact. It's with the Bilbao effect. It's about designing, and design is really the basis of architecture.
Day 2 of Design Manthan opened with 2 keynote presentations that examined climate, context, and craft, offering perspectives on how architecture can remain rooted while responding to global challenges.
Had a good event talking to the crowd, really just about our work and what we do in India. Just using a few of our projects and explaining some of our experiences in design, in construction, and in the process working with clients in different parts of India.
Platform like FOAID and other exhibitions as well are important on 2 fronts. One, the conference component of it, which allows for conversations and exchange of ideas. And more so, this industry is just growing on a daily basis. Like, as I spoke in my lecture, this is the most rapidly urbanizing nation in the world. So a lot of people are innovating with materials and building technologies all the time.
This was followed by a conversation on architect-client relationships from transaction to true collaboration, unpacking how trust, dialogue, and shared vision redefine outcomes.
I was wondering how you guys get your clients initiated into thinking that the whole process is about collaboration and they are as much an integral part of that journey.
So we work on something called the discovery tool, where we like to discover the client first, to even understand if we're a fit for them and they're a fit for us. The entire practice of design is actually managing expectations. So you kind of ranging, not really a relationship, it's a series of situationships. It's about how you manage conflict. And if you really understand and you listen, the kind of projects we do are very, very client-centered and there's no third user.
The design playback session, unfolding the design process from concept to completion, offered a closer look at how ideas evolve from the first sketch to the final built form.
In our projects, it's all about the house, because we do not have a typical style. We don't follow a style. Our storytelling, our narrative emerges from the project and from the who. Who are we building it for? And the why that they have approached us, because we are a very bespoke firm who do not aggressively approach the project in a very glamorous fashion.
We were very, very different practices put together on one platform, and each one has their own story to tell, which was very interesting, and for us to find out what other stories are all about, other practices are all about, the context, the challenges, and how they are dealing with it. It was particularly very interesting.
The process has become more important than the product itself. You need to start putting in more meaning and more value to what the end product is, and that can only happen through a rigid design process. And if you keep on refining your process, your product will keep on refining automatically. So you don't need to reinvent the project every time. You just need to refine your process, and the product automatically keeps on becoming better and better.
A presentation on practice, projects, and people, and how to get the order right, reflected on the human side of building a firm, highlighting the importance of culture, mentorship, and long-term thinking.
In the beginning, we invested in people. Most of the architectural practice would start looking for people after you've got projects. We did it differently. We found a good person, we invested in them. And then the projects happened later on. So there was this sword on our head that there are people, we need to get projects, right? So we invested in good people. Many of them are still around with us. We invested in processes, systems, which helped us grow to a certain extent.
Design Manthan concluded with a presentation series titled Drawing the Line Again. Where do we stop building and start belonging? A reflective closing session that questioned scale, responsibility, and the future relationship between people, place, and architecture.
Our aim for this project was to build traditionally, build with locally available materials, but with a far more thermally efficient envelope than what they lived in traditionally, with modern day services incorporated, waterproofing systems which are rated to minus 30 degrees Celsius, but easily installed by local semi-skilled teams. These are our site zoning sketches of how we went about the process of siting the blocks, keeping the sun path in mind, keeping the views in mind, and the existing willow groves. We are building inside a 100-plus-year-old, an orchard full of 100-year-old willow trees out here.
So in 2016, we were approached by the Penna cement factory to do a prototype school for their cement factories in the region. When we started, we thought about our goals. And so we wanted to create a strong identity that was playful and unique. We wanted to establish a high impact and cost-effective experience using locally available materials and local upskilled labor. And we wanted to limit the build form to the existing L-shaped structure and optimize the internal layouts. We did this, and we also added a series of small learning pavilions which actually built off of onto the school's existing program.
We think that it would be a good idea to repurpose things. However, if we build new, can we source it responsibly? Can we process it responsibly? And the answer, according to us, lies in going slow, craft it as much as you can. So this was one of those projects where we tried to use some level of craft, some level of technology.
As a practice, very early on we learned that if we hope to make any meaningful impact, we must engage with the complexities of the context, not from the outside, but from within. This means that rethinking our processes and methods and reimagining the very way we work. It also became clear that that understanding the socio-political and economic realities that we operate in within is not optional, it is essential.
We are in the era of excess. People are building relentlessly, non-stop. So somewhere we have to step back and see what we're doing is right or wrong. Is it needed? Is it necessary? Does it have relevance? Does it have shelf life? All these questions are very crucial to ask. Since we don't have time to answer all these questions, no one's really looking into it. So I think it's very important.
It's very important that design should orient occupants, whether it's a small or large project, whether it's a luxurious or a simple project. It doesn't matter. What matters is that every occupant is human beings, and how do we relate being human with the environment, with the nature, and with the contextual parameters.
From bold ideas to honest reflection, Design Manthan at FOAID 2025 became a space for dialogue, debate and discovery, where stories were shared, perspectives were challenged, and the future of design was thoughtfully reimagined.